We begin tonight with two breaking news stories. We just learned from Phoenix police that two people are now dead. In just the past few hours, the man shot by Phoenix police Thursday afternoon after reportedly robbing a bank and shooting at a police helicopter appeared in court. Crews from as many as 4 different agencies from across the valley remain here on scene. DPS telling us they now have that suspect in custody. Phoenix police in just the last 10 minutes issuing a tweet saying that baby Santana has been brought back.
Why didn't you do a big office pool?
I don't know, but I swear I'll cut you in.
Thank you. You better. I know.
If I win, I got you. Breaking news is happening right now on 12 News at 5 o'clock this Friday evening. A 6-year-old girl is dead after a tragic boating accident at Lake Pleasant this morning. Since 12 News at 4, we're getting reaction from Maricopa County Sheriff's investigators. Thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 5 o'clock. I'm Jonathan McCall.
As a white man, I have no business describing, trying to tell others what the Black Lives Matter movement is.
What are the things that stuck out to you with how this all went wrong? They say they had no idea that across the street from their homes was a human smuggling ring at this house. For 9 minutes, Akeem Terrell laid handcuffed face down on the floor of a jail cell. Officers piling on his back for 3 minutes. The remaining 6, he didn't move an inch and never would again.
How much would you pay to use one of the popular dating apps?
Cole, be glad you are not in this game anymore. All right, so what about $500 a month for Tinder?
But does it come with dinner?
It needs to come with something.
Gosh, once a week, right? Jeez.
I mean, it's tough in the streets, Cole.
It's tough in the
streets. It is tough in the streets. Right now on 12 News at 10. With gas prices on the rise, tonight we take a look at just how much a road trip will cost you this summer. 12 News at 10 starts right now. Breaking news is happening right now on 12 News at 10 o'clock this Saturday night. In just the past few hours, the man shot by Phoenix police Thursday afternoon after reportedly robbing a bank and shooting at a police helicopter appeared in court. This is video of 37-year-old Charles Rock during his first appearance. During that hearing, we learned that Rock is now charged with kidnapping, armed robbery, terrorism, and assault with a deadly weapon. He's currently being held on a $1 million cash bond. 12 News brought you breaking news Thursday afternoon when police say Rock used a rifle and explosives to rob the Desert Financial Credit Union at 7th Street and Thunderbird. Police say he fled that scene, then fired multiple shots at that helicopter near I-17 and Cactus. That's when an officer shot at Rock, hitting him. Rock then got back into his car and drove away. Officers caught up with him moments later. A bomb squad would later recover a live explosive device inside of his car. His next court appearance is set for this coming Thursday. More breaking news we are following tonight. The west lanes of Interstate 10 just back open near the mini stack after an Amazon 18-wheeler went up in flames. This is a live look at that scene right now from an ADOT camera. You can see crews hard at work trying to clear what's left of that 18-wheeler off the side of the highway. We're told it will have to be broken up into pieces and then removed from that area. No word on just how long that will take, but again, the west lanes of Interstate 10 near the mini stack once again back open after that fire. Here's a look at what that scene looked like just a few hours ago around 7 o'clock tonight. You can see flames and heavy smoke all across the valley from that fire. Phoenix fire crews responding quickly to that scene to put out the flames. We're told that the driver was not hurt. Tonight, there's no word on how this all started. At this hour, Glendale police are on the hunt for a man wanted for shooting a woman at least 10 times, killing her at a convenience store. This scene happening near 51st Avenue in Glendale last night. Tonight, detectives telling 12 News that shooter went inside of that store with his face covered and shot that woman with a handgun before taking off. Right now, we're working with Glendale police to learn the name of that woman and to get a better description of the suspect. All right, let's talk about the Phoenix Suns right now. They are headed back to the Valley with a commanding series lead after beating the Clippers in Game 4 in L.A. Team 12's Luke Liddon joining us now. After Game 1, everyone was saying Game 5 is when they would clinch it, so hopefully they can do that.
One more game to go. Hopefully, today's...
Welcome back, everyone. Happening right now. I-10 shut down in both directions near Phoenix Sky Harbor right now until early Monday morning. This is a live look at the area from an ADOT camera. The east lanes are closed from the mini stack all the way to US 60. The west lanes are closed from US 60 all the way to 32nd Street. You can see crews hard at work this Saturday night. Those closings, part of a massive road project. ADOT crews are tearing down bridges at 48th Street and Broadway Road. Newer versions of each of these bridges opened up earlier this year. So ADOT says they know it is a headache and a pain for drivers this weekend having to navigate through all of this, but they promise it will be worth it in the end.
We realize that these closures on Interstate 10 are impactful on many motorists in the region, but we ask for patience as we work to improve the travel times through the Broadway Curve area during busy weekday periods. Some of the benefits for this include shorter commute times and quicker travel times and less congestion through the Broadway Curve area.
So it may not look like it right now by those images you see right there, but ADOT says that the highway will be ready to go first thing Monday morning at 5 o'clock. Gas prices in Arizona remain sky high. The average price here in Maricopa County now just over $5. But as we get ready for the busy summer travel season, 12 News looking out for you and your wallets tonight. We did some digging, crunched the numbers to see just how much it would cost you to visit some popular destinations. According to AAA, a trip from the Valley all the way to Grand Canyon will run you about $85. Driving south to Tucson will cost you about half of that. If you're looking for a beach, a trip to Southern California will cost you around $140. It's a lot cheaper though to go to Las Vegas, and if you're headed to Yellowstone, more than $400. Get ready for that. Here at 12 News, we want to help you find the cheapest gas prices in your area. All you have to do, grab your mobile device and head to the free 12 News app. Scroll all the way down until you see gas prices with Gas Buddy. From there, you can track the lowest gas prices in all of the Valley and even up in Flagstaff. Meanwhile, take a look at this scene. Caught on camera, this is the moment that two homes just near Salt Lake City go off of a cliff. Both homes empty at the time. The owners say they were forced to move out back in October because of the breaks in the foundation. Engineers say that the snow melt recently caused the cliff to give way, eventually taking the homes with it. Folks in that area who are also still living there now being forced to leave their homes because they're now also at risk of falling. Let's talk about weather this Saturday night. We're gearing up for a warm week ahead. Temperatures expected to be in the 90s all week long. Meteorologist Lauren Rainson here tonight to get you ready to head out the door first thing in the morning. Finally, from the night team, a Maryland man has found his lucky numbers. Get this. This man has just won his third $50,000 lottery prize in less than a year. The winnings all happening on the Pick 5 game. And just this, he's played the exact same numbers each time. Those are 4, 8, 5, 4, 8. The odds of this actually happening are 1 in 1 quadrillion for you math geeks. That's 1 with 15 zeros at the end of it. The man says he'll use his latest winnings to take his wife on a vacation. He says he plans to keep using the same lottery numbers over and over again. I bet a lot more folks are going to use those numbers as well. As always, thanks so much for putting your trust in us. The news continues right now at 12news.com. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Breaking news happening right now here on 12 News at 6. In just the last 5 minutes, Phoenix police tweeting a picture of the officer that was shot yesterday in that ambush in South Phoenix being released from the hospital. She's in a wheelchair surrounded by members of the Phoenix Police Department as she was wheeled out of Banner University Medical Center. That's right. So far, we have yet to know her name, but we do know that she has been with the Phoenix Police Department for less than a year. Shot in the hip during that ambush yesterday as she was responding to a call of a car inside of a home that was involved in a crash near 9th Street and at 9th Avenue, I should say, and Atlanta. Again, we do not know her name. She has been with the Phoenix Police Department for less than a year. In addition to being shot in the hip, she also suffered some cuts to her face from some shrapnel that hit her from when she was fired upon by that suspect whose name we just learned at the top of the hour. Team 12's Jade Cunningham going through his criminal past for you right now. She'll have that update coming up tonight on 12 News at 10 o'clock. Jonathan McCall live from Eastlake Park in downtown Phoenix tonight, where the celebration, the fun and festivities are currently underway for the 20th annual Valley of the Sun Juneteenth Festival. And Rachel, let me tell you, everyone here having a great time in downtown Phoenix this Saturday night. Behind me, a number of the performances are currently underway. Folks gathered watching some of the best artists here in the Valley showcase their work on stage.
performers, singers, dancers doing their thing as well. You know, the celebration's kicking off at around 5 o'clock this evening. As we mentioned, there's a whole lot for folks to do as well. And things will set to wrap up at around 10 o'clock tonight. This holiday really has garnered a lot of national attention in recent years after the 2020 death of George Floyd. But this is just one of several events marking this momentous holiday taking place across the valley this weekend. Tonight's event featuring live music, art demonstrations, free health screenings, games, and plenty of food for everyone. Just a backstory, the Juneteenth holiday originating in Galveston, Texas back in 1865. That's when Texas slaves finally learned of their independence, their freedom, 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. We got a chance to talk with one dad earlier tonight about why he wanted to celebrate this event with his 2 young sons. Here's what he had to say.
And I think it's very important that they understand that their culture is beautiful. The way things are sometimes they just don't understand the beauty in their culture. This holiday is just a symbol of what an educated black mind can accomplish. And that's what I want to teach my sons.
And that has definitely been the sentiment from everyone we've talked with out here tonight, is just being able to be together, celebrate just what this holiday means for so many folks who really in just the last year started to really understand what the meaning of this holiday is. For someone like me, born and raised in Texas, it's nice to see that so many have started to gravitate toward this, because I grew up learning about this because it was taught to us in schools. So now to be able to see this take off nationwide and to see events like this, just folks coming out, having a good time and celebrating this holiday, and just coming together and really enjoying each other's company and really basking in on what this holiday really means. We'll be here throughout the hour bringing you live updates. Coming up in just a few moments, we will talk live with one of the organizers about exactly what it took to put on this event for this year and for the last 20 years. But before we do that, we're going to send it back to Studio 12A. We're going to check in with meteorologist Lindsay Riley. And Lindsay, I will definitely say things have definitely cooled down since the sun went down just a few moments ago, but it was scorching across the valley today. It's one of the most disturbing scenes Attorney Jesse Showalter says he's ever seen.
So you have them pressing the life out of him for a total of 3 minutes and then abandoning him when he becomes non-responsive.
Phoenix officers and Maricopa County jail guards
I was on Facebook, girl.
piling on top of 31-year-old Akeem Terrell. This horrific scene playing out New Year's Day 2021. According to a 28-page federal lawsuit, Terrell was brought to the jail after suffering a psychotic episode at a party.
He reacted by becoming paranoid, talking about people were trying to kill him.
Kill me. Nobody's killing you, bro. I better be at McCall County Jail.
The lawsuit says Akeem acting in a manner that made it clear that he was mentally ill. After arriving to the jail, officers removing him from the patrol car, dragging him inside. From there to an isolation cell. The lawsuit says officers pushing Akeem toward the wall without warning, then claims an officer pulled his ankles, causing him to fall into the wall, then onto the ground. The lawsuit says officers forced him onto his stomach while others watched. 2 officers are then seen crossing his feet at the ankles, then bending his legs back. Minutes later, as officers back out of the cell, Akeem remains on the cell floor, lifeless, still handcuffed. Seconds later, a guard peeks his head in the window, then walks away. A second guard would also later peek in, still doing nothing. Video then shows officers and jailers finally opening the door. The suit also claims that Akeem was face down and handcuffed for more than 9 minutes. 6 of those he didn't move. 12 News has reached out to the city of Phoenix and Maricopa County for comment on the lawsuit, but so far have yet to hear back. You can read this entire lawsuit, also seeing the video for yourself inside of this story right now at 12news.com. Jonathan McCall, 12 News. The panel consisting of a mother, a well-known pastor, an ASU professor, and law enforcement expert, along with a civil rights leader. All of them watching that video with us, disgusted by what they saw. Tyree, get this, just yards away from his own home, crying out for his mother.
They say they're hopeful and optimistic that law enforcement at some point will finally get the message that they have to do better.
As a mom, what's going on in the back of your mind watching?
They stripped him of his dignity and stripped him of the person that he was to his mother.
First, what are the things that stuck out to you with how this all went wrong?
You know, I think the most concerning thing is these officers' lack of general experience, 2.5 years on average, and they're in a street crime unit that's separate from patrol. In this case, this thing reeked of ego, and it had ego all over it, and there was a personalization to their actions, and we've seen this before, and unfortunately that's the purpose of having post standards. And the other thing was a failure of street leadership there. There should have been a sergeant or corporal who shows up.
Absolutely.
They're outside of what's happening. They're the ones that see these officers have fired off into something that is not a professional police officer, and they stop it. That did not happen. It just was more of the same, and they perpetuated. They were literally taking breaks and catching their breath and going back to him to victimize him some more. This is the United States of America. People have died for the freedoms we have, and we expect our law enforcement to be protectors of our Constitution and our liberties.
What should law enforcement agencies all across the country be taking away from what's happening in Memphis right now?
To change the police culture.
There you go.
That gives them the idea that they can do whatever they want in the morning,
Absolutely.
whether they get caught or not. What we have here, I don't know if you noticed, well, I'm sure you noticed, a black man being arrested by black police officers, and yet he still ran from them. Why? Because there was a fear that he couldn't even trust police officers of his own color.
You're bringing in the resources that are going to help the officers that are out there.
I mean, watching this incident, the main thing is de-escalation. I mean, there was no need for the repeated kicking, the repeated grabbing, the repeated punching. That's the hardest thing, to talk to the moms, talk to the dads, and they know that their child is dead.
Here we are, 30 years later, it's happened again.
Right.
2 years ago, it happened in Minnesota, and it's happened.
It does take a lot of courage and commitment, but this shouldn't be abnormal. This should be the normal thing that police chiefs and prosecutors should be doing, no matter what the color, what the race.
All police officers are not bad. We are not anti-police. We are anti-police brutality. And the way they treated our babies, that young man, they treated him brutally and inhumanely. And when I see that type of behavior, somewhere along the way, those officers lost their humanity.
We are facing a dismal tide, and that is law enforcement is retiring, and hiring is not taking place, and budgets have been cut, and so the training is going to be less. The quality of the officer candidates is going to be less.
What can we do better? How can we be better to serve the community?
You, of course, humanize this young man. Let's not leave him on the ground. Let's not leave him there. Let's humanize him. Let's bring out who he was to his mother, to his family, to his community.
A big thanks tonight for that panel for taking part in this very important discussion tonight. After that video was released, we did hear from a number of law enforcement agencies here in the Valley offering their statements condemning the video and the actions of the officers. You can read their statements right now on our website at 12news.com.
Now, Jonathan, I know the investigation is ongoing, but any indication as to why that level of force was used?
That's still a big question. Even the police chief in Memphis tonight is saying there was still no reason, there's no cause that they can think of that justified that team, that special unit team going after Tyree and making that stop.
And Pastor Stewart touched on something that to me is at the core of this issue, maybe the ultimate indictment on police culture, which is the fact that normally we see white officers involved with a black suspect and it creates these kind of situations. There's police brutality. Here you have 5 black police officers on a black suspect. Did he believe that that's the ultimate indictment on police culture?
He did. He said, you know what, we've seen instances of this in the past where it has been white officers, black suspects, or black people, but to have 5 black officers on this one person, he mentioned it, that it's a matter of culture. You have to change the culture within those departments and within law enforcement, because there was no way, as we were saying, there was no justified reason for that stop and no justified reason for them with that much force to go after.
Literally beating a man to death for 3 minutes, 5-on-1. It's sickening.
It is. Country feeling sad and angry.
It was tough to watch. It really was tough to watch. And, you know, as a parent of a 9-year-old boy, it's tough to try to explain something like that he saw just 2 years ago, having to explain that again.
Again. Yep. All right, Jonathan, thank you so much.
This is Action News.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Stan Stovall.
You could call Stan Stovall an icon or even a legend.
And as one person said, he's the reason the position is called anchor.
And those are not words that I use lightly to describe myself, because I always tell people I'm just another tax-paying citizen like everybody else.
But the truth is, he's not like everyone else, paying a hefty price to pave a path that he often walked alone for a number of years.
And believe me, I took my share of, how shall I say, people who it was difficult for them to accept a black face on TV.
A TV titan in his own right, Stovall recently wrapped up a nearly 52-year career in broadcasting that took him from the jungles of Burma to the charm of Baltimore. But the pages of his story started right here in the Valley, where he grew up. But get this, TV wasn't even on his radar.
You never saw African Americans on TV. For that matter, very rarely, you never saw women, you never saw Hispanics, you never saw Asians. It was a segregated industry limited to just white males.
But that all changed with the passing of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Stations forced to make their newsrooms reflect the communities they served. For Stovall, it was an unexpected opportunity. In 1970, at the age of 17, while attending Carl Hayden High, another Phoenix station would make him the first black TV reporter in Arizona history. A year later, he would become the first black anchor in the state and the youngest in all of America.
That was very important to me to be a positive role model and a good representative for our people breaking that glass ceiling, because for so many years prior to that, we just weren't given the opportunity.
But being the first came with its challenges, including racism, in and out of the newsroom.
And this is in the day before the internet and cell phones or whatever, so they would literally write you hate letters. Write the station hate letters. What is this N doing on the air? And
in 1974, he found his way to Channel 12 after a pay dispute at his former station, where he says his white counterparts made more but did less.
2 days after that, Channel 12 called me and offered me a job as a weekend anchor and a reporter, paying me 3 times what I was making at Channel 3 at the time.
The move would put him in good company.
But I am the first black full-time sportscaster in the history of Arizona television.
Ron Brooks joined 12 News back in 1971, working first behind the scenes as a film editor, but quickly rising through the ranks as a news reporter and then as the weekend sports anchor.
As weekend sports anchor, could not get back in time to anchor the sports on the weekend news. So they pulled me out of the film editing room, put a shirt and a tie and a coat on me, and somebody helped me write a script. And I got in front of the camera and did it live, and I stayed on ever since.
The duo would make unexpected history right here on Channel 12.
I'm soloing the weekend, and we get into a commercial break, and as we're in the commercial break about to come out to sports, we come out on the monitor. The monitor is right in front of us, and Ron and I are both looking at the monitor, and we were just absolutely mesmerized because we had never seen 2 African Americans on a news set together at the same time ever.
And we both just sat there and stared at the screen in the studio, and I said, yes, it sure is. Well, what's happening in sports? I went on and did the sportscast. So it only happened once or twice. So it wasn't a regular thing. But it's never happened again. That's what makes it unique.
A moment they both shared together, triggering a bond that's lasted decades.
And we've developed a real bond. And it's good to know that there's somebody else who walked the same walk that I walked and went through the same trials. I mean, it wasn't easy getting on the air.
This legendary duo now hoping to have their stories cemented in the history of Arizona broadcasting, and that future generations can understand the path they paved.
That doesn't allow me to go to Baltimore. That doesn't allow me to walk into this station and to, assume the role that he had some 40 years ago as the weekend anchor. That's not possible without him or without you. So, and I personally want to thank you.